Jamie, I'm so happy to chat with you again, this time for the tour season 2. Just to warm up a little bit, I would love to know, who do you think would win in a dance-off, Eugene Casti or Edgar Paget?
Oh my God. I think Edgar's probably got more diverse moves, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, I'm gonna say Edgar. I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it happen.
Yeah. I
Um,
think the two of them would be a great official couple, because just kind of they're so alike. Like, now we know everything about the tour season 2. And I actually really want to get into spoilers about that. But before I do get into the tour season 2, is there any update on Barb and Star? Because I know a lot of fans really loved that movie. It was my salvation during the pandemic. It was everything.
Tanya, if you're up for it, if you wouldn't mind starting like a petition online and gather some heat, gather some
Uh-huh.
names.
Yeah.
I have had a couple of conversations with Kristen and Annie about like doing more.
Yeah.
It's slightly unfortunate, like COVID-y timing with the release of that, and I do think it's found a really lovely audience who really genuinely like love it.
Yeah.
Um, but because of the way it came out and the timings of it, and not getting a cinematic release because of the cinema's been closed, it was just tough, and I feel like more people should know it. And if more people had seen it in the right way at the time, then these would probably be easier conversations to be having about doing more. Because you could do endless. I mean, Barbara Star and Edgar could go anywhere.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I would go anywhere with those guys.
Right.
So I'll keep
Yeah.
knocking on the door and see if, it would be a great thing. I'd love it.
Yeah, for sure. Fingers crossed for that. So let's talk about the tour season 2. Complete with spoilers. We can get right into it. This was such a profoundly fun and engaging season again, and I love that there were so many different twists. And it was so interesting because when you think you know something, you don't. And I thought it was such a great testament to the sharp writing and the performances. Aside from the location change, though, which was very personal for you, what was it about this chapter that cemented your interest for another go around?
I love this sort of exploration into, Elliot and Helen being a couple. Like, I felt like there was a sort of need and a gravitation towards wanting that by the end of the first. And I thought like the only way this is going to work, and if we do a second series, is if we put these guys together.
Yeah.
Selfishly for me, I love being with Dani and spending close proximity with her. She's so cool, such a brilliant actor, and we just have the best time together. So I was like, this is going to be great. And I do genuinely think that the audience wanted that, no matter how sort of strange the foundations of the relationship are.
Yeah.
Uh, it does just seem to work, and you do get a feeling that these two people kind of need each other. But they are, there's going to be so many complications along the way. And Jesus, in the second series, there's so many things that are thrown their way that you're just like, well, how and why would she stick around when she's heard this and she's met this person in his family and stuff? But I do think never let go of that, like, feeling that you want them to end up happy together.
Yeah.
I just thought a second series would give us a really great opportunity to explore that.
Mm-hmm. And it's funny because with the show is supposed to be in a limited series, and sometimes when we get a show like that, it's over. We don't see anything more, and it's really rare to come back and then have a season that excels, from what we've seen in the first season, and it's just on par and some of that. So, was there any doubt that you had when you were going into season 2, and just any sort of apprehension about what the story would look like?
I think there's always is, it's different. Like, if I can talk because it was a very, very big hit in the UK and Ireland and in Europe and stuff, and it wasn't in the States at the previous home. So I guess because it was so big in the UK, you're going like, there's a certain pressure, I guess, on the second series of like, second album syndrome stuff of like, it's just quite a weird offering anyway, this show, because it's so strange tonally. It's such a mad series of events that you're sort of going, was one enough? Like, do people need 6 more hours of this sort of madness? but it felt like there was a want, and there's a very big want from BBC, obviously, because it done so well for them. So, yeah, I guess I was apprehensive in that it's hard to maintain that, to get, because the levels are so skewed and there's so many different things in the pot. Like, how do you maintain that for another 6 hours and keep people entertained and gripped and scared and hopeful and all of those things you're trying to bring the audience on the ride for? Yeah. So, but then when I saw the first script for the first episode, I was like, oh no, they've found a way to make this as interesting as the first, if not more. So yeah, I was along for the ride, and it was quite a ride.
Yeah. And, I will also note, I don't know if you've seen it, but Stephen King praised the show too. He was on Twitter. He took to Twitter. He talked about it. And I think it's just a testament. There was a lot of comments, and there were a lot of fans who, they were introduced to this show on Netflix. And it's nice that it's got that liveliness on another streaming platform. And then we're getting season 2 now. So that's just really exciting, I think. And that's a lot to really, soak in. But yeah, I want to talk about the physicality of this role, because I feel like you were put through the ringer a lot more than you were in season 1. I have to say the hill scene was incredible, but it left me laughing too, because I feel like there was a lot of things that went into that. And what was the biggest challenge you would say this season when it came to the stunts?
I guess I just end up, I'm older. Every job I do, I'm older. But I'm also stubborn as shit, and I'm always like, feel like I'm really want to push myself and test myself physically. And maybe one day I'll change and go, you know what, guys, we've got a whole stunt team here. That guy, they've shaved his head. He looks exactly like me from a distance. Let's just throw him in the ringer. But I'm not there yet. I'm still very much like, no, I want to do it.
Yeah.
I'm very antsy, not very good at being still person. So actually, for me, that exertion at work, I'm really grateful for it, and I really want to do it. And often it means that I've got that out of my system for the day. It means I can just go back and eat instead of going back and like going to the gym and then eating. No, I love that. I love that side of it. I'm happy to throw myself around whilst I still feel like I can. But you're right, there was lots more of it in this series. But also, I mean, there's a silly, fun comedy aspects to all of that too, as much as he's been chased by these guys who seem pretty unsavory. It's a bit ridiculous also, the whole sequence of events. So they look like there's a lot of scale for having fun with that. So I was like, I want to be the one having fun with it. I don't want to be all the stunt guy and me just sort of watching it from the comfort of my sort of director's chair. Not that I was directing it, but you know what I mean? Like with some cozy chair at the bottom of the hill that poor guy's rolling down time and time again. But it was a good time.
Yeah. Do you, I love the thing about the comedy, and then there's drama and there's suspense. Do you like, that sort of pivot back and forth between those types of genres without it just being a straight up like comedy in Barb Star or drama in Belfast? Like there's very much a lot to play with, but you have to be on your toes.
Yeah, I think that's more relatable to human life a bit. Like I think we are all many things, and in certain environments, obviously these very heightened environments, that's why it's on TV. Like they are a bit over the top often, but in everyday life, Jesus, particularly where I'm from, we're always we've used humor as a real coping mechanism. If you're from somewhere that's gone through a lot of dark shit, and we're really quick with humor. And often I've seen this happen where, especially if I'm with a load of my mates who I grew up with, and we're with people who aren't from where we're from, and they're a bit taken aback by how comfortable we are with humor in dark situations. But so for me, I'm really comfortable in that space, and that is closer to my life. And I am someone who has the wrong thing to say at the tip of my mouth. I'm always trying to hold myself back from saying that really like sort of inappropriate, it's quite an exciting way to live. But Jack and Harry they just write like that. They write
Yeah.
like, so for me, it suited me well because it's kind of like often I find Elliot was often like thinking in a way that I would probably be in that environment. So, and I like it. And of course, I will do lots of stuff that is straight drama. I hope to do stuff that is purely comedy again, but it's not that often you get stuff that just it's a real blend of the two or three or four genres, whatever you can put into this. They don't come around that often, so it made every day very interesting.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, it came out beautifully with the show. It's just there's such a nice, sort of naturalness to it, and I love it. I want to talk about Danielle because she is such an amazing actress, and I feel like you guys had amazing chemistry on the show. Her character is Elliot's compass throughout the entire thing, and I'm wondering what was it about Danielle's performance and presence that helped you get, your role to a place that you might not have without her?
It's just she's Danielle as a person and Helen as a character are so inherently good. Like there couldn't be anyone else could have played Helen other than Danielle. From the first time that we read together, I'd already been cast. Danielle had been cast. It wasn't an audition, but the first time we were together, it was on Zoom. I actually almost want to say it was pre-Zoom because Zoom became a thing during COVID. Or like later on in COVID. This was quite early on in COVID. Anyway, it might have been on Skype. Either way, I was remote. She was in LA. I was in London or UK. The director, I think, was in Australia. It was some weird time of night that we were all managed to be together. And as soon as she started doing her thing, I was like, Jesus, like, how have we found her? And I'd seen her work. I'd seen Dumpling probably only at that time. But I knew she was brilliant, but it was just so perfect. And yeah, I don't know if you get the chance to meet her. I don't know if you have, but she is only good, Danielle. Like she's it's hard for Danielle to even say anything remotely bad about anybody or anything. She's just such a good soul. And Helen is too, and so there's just so much truth with her. I always just felt like everything Danny says is like truth to me. And all Elliot is looking for is truth because he doesn't have a fucking clue who he is or why he's found himself in this point and who to trust. And here we have this person in the middle who is showing him love and trust and truth. So he's like clinging to that. And I think that's one of the reasons why you want them to work so much,
Yeah. Yeah, and getting into that season finale, there's so much that can lie ahead. It could also just not go anywhere, which is the sad thing, and that would be tragic. But when you read the season 2 finale and got to those final pages of Eugene now being a special agent for a bureau that I zoomed in, it's called the Sentinel, and it goes back as 2005. What was going through your head? Because there's a lot of information there, and I feel like we can play with a lot when we get a potential season 3 on Netflix.
I think it was very, blatantly and purposely open-ended, even more so than the first series, which you could have very easily gone, all right, that's it. But the door opened just enough to be, that's me.
Bless you.
You left the door open just enough to be like, oh, right, no, there could be more life in this if he survives. But with this one, it's very open. We leave a couple of big Easter eggy things that only the audience, and not Elliot and Helen or you, whatever, are privy to. So yeah, look, that's lots of conversations that I have, other people way more powerful than me have, and we'll see. But I think I've also got loads of other stuff to be getting on with and busy. So who knows how that ends up? But it's cool now, and it'll take on its own new life because Netflix have given this a new life in the States. So that could inform a lot of it, in terms of how well that does for them and the want for it. So yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I hope you guys get to go somewhere that is also beneficial for your kids. I was thinking like Florida, so you can go to Disney too, like on your days off. It'd be great.
I mean, if Disney every day on my day off might be a bit too much.
That would be a lot.
I'd be very happy, but I'm not. My wife and I might struggle.
Right. Before I let you go, it's always such a pleasure chatting with you. I would love to know what is ahead and what's after the tourist for you. Any collaborations with your friends or projects? Because I know you hosted a panel for Oppenheimer, and there was a bunch of actors on that panel. I would love to see you in movies with again.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I've done a movie of two of them, so that's a nice thing. Yeah, I have something. I start filming in a few weeks on something that hasn't been announced yet. That's really exciting and the longest job I will have ever done. So that'll be interesting. But yeah, I've got loads going on that is all very varied, I would say, and very exciting. And I think at least one of them will be announced in the next few weeks, I'd say. So yeah, lots going on. Cillian and I trying to find something to do together again, because that was a good time, and he needs a break. He's having a tough time of it, Cillian, at the moment.
Right.
Things aren't really going to play. It's been a rough year.
Yeah, he hasn't had anything really big happen. So
no, it's been rough. It's been rough for him. So I'll try to throw him a bone at some point, see if I can get him some work.
That's very nice of you, yeah, for sure. But yeah, Jamie, it is always such a pleasure chatting with you. Thank you again for your time, and I'm so excited for the tourists and for everyone to watch it. And just continue good luck to you and best of everything. I can't wait to hear what's next.
Thanks, Tanya. I appreciate it. Nice to